So usually we don't say hello and welcome to today's show and everything, but you are our first guest, Lamar. This is Lamar Dixon. He is a seasoned, I'm going to say seasoned to be nice, seasoned law firm BD and marketing expert here in the Middle East. And you cut your teeth in the States, right? Tell us more about you.
Yeah, that's where I'm originally from. Born and raised in Charm City, Baltimore, Maryland. Always going to represent no matter where I am in the world. But while I was there, I was at a number of law firms. For those familiar with the States, the litmus test or, kind of that standard is the AmLaw 100. So those are, 100 largest law firms in the States. So I've worked at several. And then I made the jump to the Middle East in 2018. And it's wow, time is flying. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah.
And I've been in a number of firms here. So
yeah.
Yep, been around the block, international with it now.
Nice. That's nice. So you came here pre-pandemic, which is interesting to see that change as well. Has anything, this is not supposed to be an interview, but
don't write an interview.
Has anything really changed in law firms that you've seen before the pandemic and now?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that was just it goes without saying that was just such a weird time, I think, because people just really did not expect, especially in firms, expect what was going to happen, trying to see into the future. Yeah. I think since then it was odd was that we actually got more work at the firm I was at during the pandemic.
Yeah.
We were extremely busy. I think during the time a lot of firms were just kind of like scrambling. Okay, what do we do? Mm-hmm. Let's do this, kind of throwing things at the wall. But business for us just took off, and I definitely was busier during that time. I think that there's been not hangover, but maybe firms kind of still chasing those sort of returns or that bar being set during that 2-3 years that, okay, we did it for this period. Yeah. We can keep sustaining that kind of growth.
Yeah.
At least from what I've seen. Uh-huh. Don't know if that's quite attainable, but definitely have seen that.
No, I agree. I think it's something that they forget that there was also record levels of burnout during that period.
Oh, yeah.
Because, we were working nearly 20-hour days. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Even in South Africa, it was unprecedented for everybody. Unprecedented times. We're so used to that. But
nobody ever says precedented. Yeah, everything's unprecedented.
It's all new to us. History was
Where's the
new
precedented?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we were working crazy hours, hitting record numbers, amazing, but we were exhausted. And then you are still running your life and you're still freaked out, and then you come back and everything's supposedly normal, but you still want us to hit those numbers. Mm-hmm. But we're burnt out. We haven't had a break. Now we've got new team structures as well. Teams are getting smaller and smaller. How do you feel about that? This is a touchy subject with us.
It's okay, and I'll make a reference to, again, if you're familiar with my hometown, Baltimore, there's a show called The Wire. Mm-hmm. And in one of the seasons, season 5, they're talking about, they're working in the newsroom. Yeah. And there's cutbacks in the newsroom, again, journalists, newspaper. Yeah. And they say, do more with less. But the counter to that in the show was the character said, you don't do more with less, you do less with less.
Yes.
And when you look at the litany of things that biz development and marketing teams are tasked to do, it's tough to do all of those things, to not an efficient level, but a I guess effective level, because there's so many different things, and I think the marketing and business development aspects get put into the same bucket when they're two completely different things.
Thank you.
Strategy's different than marketing communications.
Yeah.
If you're writing a business, you're doing a personal business development plan one day, and then you're tasked with, let's put together an event. Two completely different things. So when you have a small group of people who tasked with that, how does it get done?
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's this list of things that we have to do. We have to make sure the clients are happy. We have to make sure we're getting new clients. Mm-hmm. We have to make sure that the firm looks great outside and people are seeing our faces at events and conferences, and we're getting sponsorships on different things. but we still have to do all of the pitches that
Yes.
come in, especially here in the Middle East, where it's like, it's like 3 pitches a day. Honestly, it can get that bad. And the expectation is super high, because there's a special type of person that comes into business development, especially in law firms. There's a special type of person that works in a law firm. It's someone who craves that, that excellence. We've got high standards for ourselves. So I think it makes it so much more difficult to hit your own standards and then also hit the firm standard and then add to that international firm standards. It just the mountains get higher and higher and higher.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think with that too, you said it takes a special type of person to work in a law firm, and that really hits the nail on the head. And not just like the pursuit of excellence, but I think finding someone who, again, we're looking at someone who can do all the things, somebody who, can think strategically, but also like work within, like, I guess the confines, the confines of how law firms operate, but maintain their creativity.
Yes.
Because, like, going back to what we were talking about before, the marketing communications and the business development are completely different. And if in law firms, it's kind of weird because you're tasked with doing both through the lens of how lawyers think and operate.
Yes.
It's like, how can you market when you're constantly thinking about mitigating risk?
Yes.
So it's tough to find somebody who knows how to navigate both of those worlds, or to preach that gospel that like, listen, we need to draw back. And that's really where, to me, people in business development or marketing should have a seat at the table, because they can kind of see the big picture, and not like what could go wrong. And that's like the perfect segue to say exactly why we have you on the podcast today, is because you preach the gospel. Lamar is the guy that brought me here. He pinched me up from a cushy job in South Africa, fully remote, guys. And he poached me, basically. It was great. And brought me to Dubai. Strong-armed her. She didn't have a choice.
And from day one, he started preaching the gospel of BD needs a seat at the table. So that's what we say here at Boost as well. We need to have that strategic voice in the decisions that are made. And I think that leads to not only the success of the firm, but it leads to the success of the individuals in the BD team, the lawyers themselves personally, because they get to switch gears a lot more into focusing on that billable work and not being like, BD, which is the attitude that we get most of the time. Yeah. Because it's just one more thing on their list of things to do. And they hate the fact that it's not billable. So I think that seat in the beginning of strategy, and then in the middle when things are going a little bit off, when BD should be involved in, hey, this is what's going wrong with our marketing. This is what's going wrong with the way that we're looking at pitch volume and things like that. BD doesn't often have a say in that. That's like top level guys. Your C-suite homies.
Up in the clouds.
Yes, exactly. They're just seeing us little ants working. Yeah. But I think like something that I've admired since I've been here, since I met you, is that you haven't given up the fight of preaching that gospel that BD needs to have that seat. We need to be used for the strategic minds that we are. Yeah,
I mean, exactly. I think like in the time that I've been in, especially here in the Middle East, because I think how business development and marketing teams, again, because we want to make the distinction.
Yes, please.
Right. Yeah. How business development and marketing teams are used is still kind of developing, and maybe some people are seeing the light, but oftentimes, and again, it goes back to the nature of what lawyers do in their jobs and what we do in our jobs, and kind of how they run counter, but they can work together with the aim of getting work. Yeah. But I find that a lot, the way that business development teams get pigeonholed really is like firm strategy and just like seeking comfort.
Yes.
Right? Like, and that may go hand in hand with mitigating the risk and thinking about what can go wrong. Like, you know, in seeking that comfort, it's like, okay, well, if we put out X amount of pictures or we go for this work, we can't offend anybody. And, you know, we're doing something.
Yeah.
Right.
At least.
Again, we're doing something at least, you know, and it's not as maybe as touchy feely or forward as calling up your client and saying, hey, you know, how's everything going? We're just checking in, or giving them something of value. That's what I always try to, I keep going back to church euphemisms, but I try to preach was like, you know, again, give your client something of value.
Exactly.
Whether it's, you know, a news article you see, you know, targeted outreach. You know, I'm not a fan of email blasts. We should do an alert. These are like,
no, it's just another email.
Exactly. But that goes back to comfort. It's things that you can do from an arm's length that don't really put you out there. So when business development teams get pigeonholed, I do find that it's that seeking comfort. But you know, comfort will kill you faster than a bullet. You know,
100%.
Right. You know, while you're worried about having your BD teams, you know, put out just volume, you know, and act more in operations as opposed to strategy. Your competitors are doing things that get legs up on you. Calling clients, doing things like this. You know, so.
Exactly. I mean, if you think about it, it's not the same old that's going to get you new results. I think something popped into my head is, as you were talking, is we've forgotten about some of the real lessons that happened in COVID. We had to flip everything on its head, right? We were all at home. We had to juggle our entire lives. We were ordering in all of the time. I mean, I haven't lost that habit. We just had to figure out being on camera all of the time, and what level of professional do you have to be on camera and all of that stuff, right? Yeah.
Nah, you're not alone. Like,
but what we forget is everything was new then, and we got new results. Now it's like we're trying to go back to the old way. Everybody's going back into office. But we're not going to get different results by going back.
Yeah, you know, and like, again, it's comfort. But I think, let me stop saying I think, I know that for business development teams, I mean, again, unless you're somebody who is just married to process, and there are those among us, we really should bring innovation to the table in addition to strategy, that there are different ways to do things. I understand that, you know, law firms, you know, lawyers work on precedent. But again, for us in strategy who think about these things, it's not, you know, change for change's sake, but hey, there's a different way to do this, a more effective way. And like you said, during COVID, we learned some good lessons, also some bad lessons, but there's definitely things that could be taken away. Like you know, during that time, and working from home here in the Middle East was not really a thing. And that's one thing I had to get used to coming from the States here, right? But we were, you know, everybody's on Zoom or Teams or whatever we were using at the time. I remember one time I got on a conference call in the early days, right? And of the lockdowns at least. And I had a hat on. I was in the house all the time. You know, I had a t-shirt, I had a hat on, and this partner was so pissed at me because I had a hat on. Well, you're wearing a hat.
It's my house.
I was like, oh, okay. So then when we had a client meeting for a pitch. And I had on a suit and tie. He was complaining about the suit and tie. So I was like, which like
exactly.
It's a lose-lose.
Exactly.
And I think when in that time where people are trying to figure it out, there's lessons to be taken away from that. You know, sometimes you got to build the plane while you're flying it. And again, that risk mitigation, that we have to have everything absolutely figured out before we go to market. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. And you know, people like us can bring those ideas to the table to at least get something started.
Exactly. I mean, I remember when we worked together, there was often times where we were like, okay, let's just try it. Let's try it. What's the worst that could happen? We just have to change it. And like Okay, there was worse than that. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that. But it seriously is. It's about trying things out. It's about taking those tiny risks. Sometimes bigger swings, I'm thinking those bigger presentations that we put together that actually got some really good compliments. But I think it's about taking risks in a smart way.
Yeah.
We're not putting client information on ChatGPT. Like, that's dumb. That's illogical. I mean, nobody's gonna do that. But they are things. I mean, at Boost, we preach AI. Here we are preaching again. We are always talking about AI and how it can make mundane tasks easier. I mean, seriously, there's so many systems for like inputting deals and all of that stuff, for making directories easier, for handling emails that go out that like in your processes, like your kickoff email, add in a few details, boom, that email goes automatically. I mean, there's things like that can make every day a little bit easier, so you can take those bigger swings, so you have more time to be sitting in that meeting and saying, actually, we should be doing XYZ, and you're not taking away from the 5-6 pitches that you've got going on. So I think it's about those moves, again, building the plane as you go. It's figuring out, okay, we need to move this to put that there. And, oh, dang, it doesn't work. Okay, let's put it back there and let's flip that on its head. Like, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It really isn't if you have to change something. Okay, I mean, the plane crashes. But it really isn't the end of the world if you have to change something slightly. I mean, we've all had the experience where you've published something, for example, on LinkedIn, and you miss a word. What's the use of having a huge panic attack when you can just go in, edit it, and add the word in? But in law firms, it's a massive deal. It always comes down to this massive panic attack with 50 emails after 1 second of the post being up, and there's no interaction with it already. Nobody's seen the post. Everybody's been watching for it, but nobody outside has actually seen the post.
Yeah.
So it's like we're putting out the fire that hasn't even started yet, instead of being like, at least the post is out, guys.
Yeah, and I wish that there, and you made this point, again, in our time rolling together.
Yeah.
That, and this goes back to the understanding of legal work versus business development and marketing, right? Yeah. Again, two separate sides of the house, two separate sides of the business, right? But approaching marketing, that side, like you do legal.
Yeah.
Where, and I understand, in legal work, being around for a while, that there is, a certain level of perfection. I mean, people are looking for mistakes to exploit them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's not that in marketing that you should be allowing to make mistakes. Like you said, there has to be some flexibility, right? But looking at marketing through the lens of legal, again, where marketing is to build a relationship with the public, right? With your client. It's not that you want to get up there and lie or say things that are crazy, but there's, you said marketing is not drafting.
Yes.
And like sometimes, again, when you get copy, if you ever work on a pitch, you'll look, and I'm trying to, real focus in, or when I edit things, I'm like, who's the market here? You're writing this for yourself.
Yes.
This is not a convincing sales argument, right? But it's, again, trying to establish that level of understanding that like how you approach what you do for clients is not the same as how we are going to talk to the public, in trying to win work or marketing. There's a delete button here. This pencil has an eraser.
Yes.
As long as we have the brand voice, and again, we're giving the public something useful where they want to know more about what we do, then that's the aim. It's not to have something airtight that, even when, It's like you get marketing copy or what people think is marketing copy, and it has clauses in it, and it's like,
oh my God, and it's so stuff.
Yeah,
it is so stuff. Like, I think now with giving like trainings and coaching sessions and stuff, I think I've gotten these like catchphrases that I've got, but like when I'm talking about pictures and I'm talking about like, you know, visual marketing, your print marketing, I always say it needs to breathe. But that goes for everything. That goes for your wording. It goes for the design. It goes for everything that you're putting out there to the public. And that also means that the stuff that you put on LinkedIn, for example, your press releases, they need to breathe. People need to be like, oh, it's alive. People wrote this.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the difference between the drafting, which is the law, which is this very stoic, firm, statuesque, you know, ancient thing, versus marketing, which should be lively. It's selling the people. It's selling the humans behind that stuff. And a lot of times we know what we get in terms of copy for our pictures and for things that are going out, like you say, has clauses. It's legalese. It doesn't feel human. How do you get around that? When you're doing pictures, when you're putting together an ad or something, how do you get around that?
I go into it with, okay, one, because there's some people who are, you know, married to that approach.
Yes.
Again, and even in a sales document, there's risk, there's comfort.
Yes.
I operate in this space, so even the things that I do where I'm trying to establish a relationship with a client need to be within here.
Yeah.
So it's assessing who I'm working with and also the opportunity, you know, who's reading it. But with assessing that opportunity, it's also like, okay, is there room for, or what is the threshold for creativity here?
Yeah.
You know, even when we're looking at, you know, some of these proposals, and I know you talked about AI, but I think that's one of the things that I won't say that AI can't do, but in the human element and thinking about, okay, how do I establish this relationship? That's where we come in too. But some of the proposals that we've worked on, you know, in our time together, thought about, okay, what's something cool that we can build in here?
100%.
You know, like what's something that, you know, a client might pick it up and ultimately, you know, if the fees are out of order, you know, we tried.
Whoops.
But where somebody can pick it up and say, oh, yeah, you know, I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
Like, I actually want to read this.
Yeah.
You know, like, let me see what they're talking about. So trying to figure out what's the opportunity, what's the threshold, you know, I think for things, especially like in, you know, tech space, again, there's a lot of things that are happening here in the Middle East. You know, we know all the big name projects, you know, in our region. You know, just like the Middle East is just full of so big ideas. That's why I like about living here, that there's always that ambition.
Yes.
So why not produce product that's in line with that ambition?
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Again, as long as it aligns with the brand voice, and I think that's the biggest way to get around it. Sometimes you have to sell it, you know, and again, somebody will always poke holes in it because it goes back to the comfort. But, you know, swing for the fences.
But that's the thing. It's like, I think that there is a lot to be said about throwing your comfort out the window, because change is uncomfortable. Doing something new is always going to be uncomfortable the first, second, third, fourth, 90th time you do it.
Yeah.
But once you start seeing those results, the old way doesn't make sense anymore. And I think people don't give it enough time to actually get to the point of seeing the results. It's like, oh, dang, this didn't work the first time. Oh, we have to throw it out the window now. It doesn't make sense. Like, we can sit here, I mean, we've had this chat over coffee, over lunch, over drinks, many times, too many to count. And I think the thing is, we've reached that point where, I mean, a couple of times we did a couple of pictures that were super creative, and, you know, you get the backlash and whatever, but the client is happy. So you're sort of like, yeah, but the client was happy. So, and it's picking those battles and knowing that, okay, who we're working for, they'll be behind this firstly. So if we facing anything, the partner, they got us. We're good. But also, it's the fact that you have to try it. People have to see it before they can buy into it. Because, especially with lawyers, they want to see that it works. They want to see that, okay, this makes sense, and now we can think about maybe thinking about changing the precedent. Not really thinking about changing it, but thinking about it, you know? And I think that's the battle that we're still fighting, is trying to get the conversation about change going.
Yeah, and you're right. It takes I can't count how many times, right, where, you know, I've been in a meeting or I've sent something out via email, an idea, and, you know, just being real, you know, it gets ignored or people try to poke holes in it.
Yeah.
But then, you know, a lawyer or someone else will say the exact same thing or something that, you know, is very similar. Oh, well, let's consider that.
That's great.
I think what it really takes, or some of the better firms do, is that, or firms that are, you know, innovative in business development, is that they have there's an inside man. There's someone who understands, or at least is like, okay, I'm a champion for us to do it in this way. Because really sometimes, you know, it shouldn't, but it may fall on deaf ears because, again, we're speaking two completely different languages, right? You're skilled at what you do, and I'm skilled at what I do. Again, we both have the same goal.
Yep.
I try to understand your world. I need you to understand mine.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a internal champion that's like, okay, listen, we need to give this. Let's not come to the table with problems, but let's give this an ear.
Yeah.
You know, let's not think about how it could go wrong. That's the other thing too. It's like people, it's tough in railing against it. Well, not railing, but again, trying to
mitigate.
Yeah, well, trying to change hearts and minds, trying to, you know, explain, because again, people think about what could go wrong, but for every one thing that could go wrong, there might be 2 or 3 things that could go right.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's something to, you know, to consider, but definitely need that inside man, that champion. Like I've been at firms where, you know, we've had, you know, a designated, you know, marketing partner, you know, who was part of conversations, you know, who signed off on things, you know, or even might have been a mouthpiece for certain campaigns. Yeah. You know, and that in those environments was definitely a big help.
It does help. It also helps if you have someone on your team that was maybe in practice as well. I've worked in a team where that was the case, where they know how lawyering works, but now they're on the other side of the curtain and they know that, okay, it's more creative over here. We need a little bit more flexibility. So hearing it from one of their own, you know, it becomes a little bit easier to take. We are always looked at as like, you know, the additions to the firm. So I think if somebody outside your family comes and tells you that, hey, something in your family is going wrong, you don't really take it as well as somebody in your family being like, hey, something's going wrong here, guys. So I think that I do agree that having that change champion is essential to getting the conversation going further than just a conversation. You need somebody in their ear saying, hey, guys, what they're saying is good. Just listen for 5 more minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know, if you come to the table already thinking it's a bad idea, then, you know, there's not much that anybody can say to convince you otherwise.
Yeah.
But, you know, we keep talking about the understanding on the, you know, the lawyer side. But I think just organizationally, it's understanding where we're having an appreciation that, again, we all have the same goal. We all, you know, want to hold up the trophy, but we do different things. Like I love sports, and this may not resonate with the folks. Again, you know, I'm always using sports metaphors. I don't care, you know. But, you know, I love football, American football, and like to me, that is the greatest analogy for for organizational success.
Okay.
Right. Again, I won't get into the nuances of the rules for people who don't know, but in a football team, there's certainly a number of men on the field, and to run a play, everybody has to be doing their job. They all do different things, whether you're on offense or defense.
Yep.
Quarterback takes the ball, offensive linemen block for the quarterback. You have receivers who are going out to catch passes, but they all have to be in sync. They all have to do their individual jobs together.
Yes.
You know, there's never a conversation in the huddle where the quarterback is talking to his offensive lineman and saying, I don't understand what you do, so we'll just do this. Or, you know, where somebody at another position is saying, well, we don't do that this way, so we should do it this way.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be in sync and have an appreciation for how they fit into the broader context of scoring that touchdown. And that's kind of how I look at it, you know, for law firms. We're all trained in certain ways. You know, you spent, you know, and I can't remember, but at least in the U.S., you know, law school, if you go 3 years, you know, I spent 5 years in business school, you know, like
I
University of Maryland.
Too. Exactly.
Like, you know, we all have training. We all have experience. Again, we might think about things in a different way, but we all have the same goal to score that touchdown.
Exactly.
So there has to be an appreciation for how we approach the game, but also where we fit into the broader context of the play. If we're just siloed in and just thinking about what we got going on, everybody else is wrong, busted play.
Exactly.
So that's your football lesson for people who are.
Thank you.
Well, listen.
I think that is the perfect segue for my next question for you. Again, we've got lean teams that are happening all around the world. Teams are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. You've got teams of 3 that have to handle pitches, events. Some places have comms teams, but regionally you have to handle your own comms. Things like that. You've got these multiple hats that you have to wear in a team of 3, for example. How do you, as you have said many times, finish the play on everything when you've got limited resources? How do you handle that?
Man, it is hard. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I could get up on this podcast and act like I have like this ultimate poise and you know, we're
everything's great.
We're advancing strategy and da. No, there's only so many things you can do, and when you're constantly switching gears. Again, we had the conversation about proposals, and you know, I know that powers a lot here, but when you're doing that and trying to think about strategy, like it's hard. For me, trying to stay across all of it, especially with limited resources. Let me not lie. You just do the best that you can.
Yeah.
Seriously, you know, if I could, you know, again, get up here and act like, again, I'm doing it all or our team is doing it all.
Yeah.
Especially with things that, again, that are so different. And like, I have to keep hammering that point home that these are 2 completely different jobs. You know, with larger firms, again, there are broader global resources, and, you know, try to push those to them as much as possible.
Yeah.
But, and I'm speaking from a Middle East standpoint now, when you're part of an international firm or not everywhere really has a understanding of the nuances for the Middle East. Yeah. And again, it's something I had to learn myself coming from the States. Things are different here. Yeah. Different in terms of client confidentiality. Yeah. You know, different in terms of voice, you know. Culture. Exactly. Culture, how people interact. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes there's a disconnect in understanding, or trying to shoehorn ways that may work in other regions to fit this one. And it's like, Yeah. So sometimes, you know, on the ground, you do have to take things, you know, a bit closer because you know. Yeah. Where somebody else might be like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. And that's totally fine. Again, you don't know. You know, you're in, you know, wherever. You're exactly. Right. Right. And I'm here in Dubai. So, you know, that's my job to bridge that gap.
Thank you.
But, it's really just doing the best that you can, but trying to, you know, delegate or call on broader resources as much as possible. You know, but again, it's so many different jobs, and you're switching gears, all the time, and that's that's what you said about it takes a special type of person. Can somebody efficiently look at new market entrance strategy, right? And trying to lay out a plan for that, or at least do research and target, prospects, however you get to it. And then, in the same day, ghostwrite a LinkedIn post, or, put together a proposal where you actually have to think about and adjust experience to fit this and do all this research. Again, it's two different things. They're trying to stay across it all. It can be tough. So
I mean, we've got a pretty unique position in law firms where we have to be really great at the business development side. We have to be really great at the marketing and thinking like a marketer. I mean, people go to school for marketing separately. There's no business development school. I mean, it's part of...
I'm an open one.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's do it.
Thank you. We're starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
So... You've got those things, and then you've got law schools where our wonderful lawyers go to, and they learn their stuff. But what we have to do in law firms is we also have to know their stuff to a certain extent. Like you say, you have to find a way to make that experience, those credentials, fit with what you're doing, because sometimes it's not as clear cut as saying, oh, I need aviation creds, but it needs to be specifically manufacturing engine parts. Sitting here, I'm like, honey, we haven't done that. But now you need to think, okay, can I put manufacturing and aviation creds in? Okay. But I'm also planning an event on the other side. So my brain is thinking, do I have enough vendors? And also, I know that I need to do a LinkedIn post for this thing that's being announced on Thursday. And you're going through all of this stuff in your head, and you have to juggle all of these different tricks all the time. You have to go through these different mindsets all day, every day. And I think that's where it gets exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally having little mini brains in your brain thinking about all of these little things. And it really is like we are the kings and queens, the royalty of multitasking, because you start one thing and then you start another thing and then something comes in and it's urgent, but everything has to get done. It has to get done well. And I think that's why we are, I think, one of the most interesting professions. I don't think I could do anything else. I mean, I have a law degree. I could have been a lawyer, but I'm not. And I'm actually really glad, because we do so much. Every day it's stressful, but it's exciting. Maybe you don't feel the same after so many years.
I'm battle tested. That's what it is. I'm solid, rock solid.
But yeah, I think it's still, I mean, we wouldn't be in it if we didn't like it. There's a certain element where you're like, oh, okay, I like this part of my job. Like, what's your favorite part?
My favorite part, like you said, there's one. I mean, I like working with, again, setting teams up and working across the firm. Like I'll say, at least in the spot that I am now, and maybe it's a good or bad thing. It's like when and this is what makes my day, or helps make my days long, is that I never envisioned that I would be an expert, on the Middle East, right? And I found myself in my firm. I don't know if it's that I'm just a good go-to, or sometimes I'm responsive. But if somebody sneezes on a building in Dubai, somebody in Manchester's calling me, Lamar, you know anything about this? And you find yourself just interacting with people all over the world and pushing things forward. That's pretty cool. Or knowing, what's on the ground, or really being, knowledgeable and an expert in your market. My Arabic is slim to none.
Okay.
But, at least try to keep my ear to the ground and, be a resource for the firm in that way.
Yeah.
And also, working with great people, such as yourself, and our time together, especially for people who are new, because, and this goes back to the resourcing point too.
Yeah.
At least for me, and man, all of this just fits together.
It does.
Because part of the comfort part is that, we only want people who work at law firms. But when you think about, again, the marketing or the business development side, I'll take on people who worked at ad agencies, who've done this, who've done that, because there's transferable skills.
Yes.
Or you get a different perspective. Me, I might be institutionalized because I've been doing it so long. I'm still trying to, keep what makes me and stay creative and, all that stuff. But, getting fresh air and getting other ideas, granted, I think, there are certain nuances that people have to pick up, but bringing folks into the region, for me, and just kind of like coaching them along and, giving them the game about, working in the region, working in firms, especially if they're new, I like that part.
Yeah. And he likes writing, guys.
We got AI for that.
Anyway,
I still don't trust it. I've tried to use, I'll come up with a draft and I'll use it to synthesize things somewhat.
Okay.
But sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I don't talk like that.
No, I get you. I think for me, when it comes to like these language models that we've got, we've got so many now. It's not just ChatGPT. People are comparing Gemini to ChatGPT. Please don't. If we get to the point of monetization, we're not advertising for any one of them. Thank you. But I think for me, the thing with that is there's so many ways that you can use a generative model like that. You can, I have a blog on my own, so sometimes you have a whole bunch of research that you need to do. I'm not going to sit and read through a 30-page academic article, so please summarize this for me. And maybe just, give me the key points so that I can write this first draft, which is great. Sometimes your brain just isn't working right. So give me the first draft so I can go in and then put it into our brand voice, But I think there's something that also comes, it's so human when you can see that it was written by a human all the way through. All the way, from beginning to end. I write our newsletter from scratch. Not a single hint of it has ever gone into any language model, because that is, it's our brand. That needs to sound like it comes from one of us. There's 3 of us in our team. And it needs to sound genuine. Like you can tell, Nasya wrote this. JS wrote that. But it's all in the same voice. We've still got the same brand voice. We know what we want to say and how we want to say it. But it's so human.
Yeah. And
I think that's the difference in some of these docs that we send out to clients as well. They can tell when it's like, okay, you're speaking directly to me. It's not just something you threw in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's, that goes back to, again, the understanding of, not just the operations aspect, which, but the value that on the BD or marketing side that, our sector brings to the table, and even in the chat that you guys had, the event, and sharing the notes I'm reading through, I'm like, man, this is some really good stuff. Yeah. And to your point, having that direct conversation, which, GCs said that they value, not the legalese, not the, AI slop, how many times can you really be delighted to give someone a proposal? Like, are you really delighted? Like, I've never used delighted out of my mouth a day in my life, but again, establishing that relationship, and when it has the human element and also the creativity, again, it goes further. Yeah. It definitely goes further. It has that again, establishes that connection.
Yeah. And I think, like, again, with the word connection, all of this stuff is connected. It's connected to listening to what your BD and marketing, especially your senior leadership who's been through all of the trenches, listening to what they're saying about what works and what doesn't work. It's about making sure that your BD and marketing teams at least have the breathing room to be separate or function separately, because that is so, so, so important, because you get better client relationship management. You get better results when it comes to getting new clients in and maintaining your current client relationships. But you also get better marketing material that comes out. Everything's better. But it's also about speaking to the different strengths in the big picture. I mean, like you say, with the football stuff, sports wall, I don't know. It's about everybody knowing that, okay, this is my role. Great. This is how it fits in. I think that's also a big thing. This is how it fits into the bigger picture and the bigger goal. And I just need to keep doing my thing. Everybody else has themselves. I need to do my thing, make sure that it fits in nicely so that we can reach the end goal. Yeah. We need to talk to each other. That's the thing. Let's have the seat at the table so that you can hear what we have been saying for years. Like you say about the GC chat that we had, it's things that I know that BD teams have been saying, that clients don't want to get all the things that we currently send them. But when it comes directly from them, it's sort of better. It's easier to take. It's like, oh, you guys, you've been saying this, that's awesome, but now they're telling us, so cool, maybe we'll think about it. But yeah, it's about, I always come back to, it's about listening. It's about taking that time to just listen to what the people are saying, what they need, what works, what doesn't work, and taking things from there. The first step is sit down, listen to me. Let me have that moment. I think that's one of the biggest things that we could start with to get that transformation that we need. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's really where the value becomes apparent, you know, because it's sort of cyclical. Like everything that, you know, you brought up, that we've talked about, the great points that you've made all fit together, you know, especially for this region, you know, with such a reliance on the operational aspect in doing proposals, there's lost opportunity, you know, because you think about the time that, again, if you're looking at a sales document, a proposal through a legal lens, and you're scrutinizing it in the same way and trying to get all the language together, and if it's a robust proposal, again, at minimum, you know, it would take 2 to 3 hours to put together. Yeah. Right? You know, you multiply that by however many proposals that your firm is doing in a week, and, you know, just get the time together. That's time with that operational aspect that takes away from switching gears and doing things that have, or putting the energy behind things that can have longer term payoffs. You know, again, like setting that strategy, like client listening, like trying to actually get insights from clients on what it is that they want. Again, because we're seeking comfort and we're just reacting and work, and here's a document. When business development is about, again, more of the separation. Business development is about building relationships. Yeah. You know, and that's really what we should be trying to do, building relationships and also making connections. Yes. You know, like I tried to use this sort of as an object lesson. I was in an email conversation about a proposal, and there was a piece of experience in it that, you know, that someone in the firm, senior associate counsel, had flagged. And they said, oh, do you know who this is related to? And I said, nah, you know, let me look into it. He said, oh, because they, you know, this could be a great opportunity. They've got X amount to spend. So I looked into it, you know, just doing the research and, you know, who it belonged to, who was attributed to. Yeah. And, you know, came back with the details. Yeah. You know, so we could pursue it further, put the right people in place. So, like, you know, ultimately another pitch will grow out of this one
thing.
little line in a proposal, but it's on me to connect the dots and say, okay, let's put this here, put this here. That's really, again, that's
the role.
Right. That's the role. That's the job, not just cranking things out. Yes. And I think if you have somebody who is able to string all of those together, again, in the context of something which may be creative / strategic, we're able to drill down into a more strategic role and value where, you know, that opportunity could dwarf this little thing that we're just putting the capability statement together. Yeah. And again, it takes somebody to again have that foresight and also do the detective work, do the legwork, and say, okay, this is what it is. Yeah. You know, but you lose out on that when you're just looking to, you know, just crank things out.
When everything's just reactive.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we are about to run out of time, so I have some quick fire questions for you.
All right, let me get ready.
Okay. So I already know you like writing. That's awesome. That's great. What is the worst thing that you have to do during your day?
Email. Lord. Actually, I'm not sure if it's email or Teams.
Okay.
You know, and I think that's probably email, because people want to have full conversations over email. For me, I'm like, just call me, man. Please. Yeah. I know people think that it takes, an email is just so, I can understand, like, especially when you work in law firms too. This is the other part. I had a conversation years ago. I remember I was talking to somebody I used to work with he was my boss at the time at another firm. And we were talking about email. And I'm like, listen, in business development, or again, you're working in law firms. And again, this is the culture. But you spend so much time trying to write these bulletproof emails, then that takes up your day. Like, that's something I do not like. Just call me.
One more question.
Yeah.
If there is one thing in law firms that you could change with a magic wand today in your role, anything that would make life easier, what would it be? Magic wand thinking.
Go, no go process. Standard.
Perfect. We're going to have you on again to go more into that. Thank you so much, Lamar.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.